Inside of the Grimmery mansion, Issei found himself in a comfy guest suite, sleeping in a bed made from the finest of silks, with sheets softer than that of the clouds. And yet, he could find no sleep in his current state. The dragon that they had fought in earlier was actually a friend of Azazel's, the meteor-blazing dragon, Tani, a former dragon king, now turned devil and servant of the Grimmery family. The attack had been a test to see where everyone stood in terms of power. They had managed to hold their own and they had done just fine, but of course, they could always do better. For Issei, he felt that especially. When they arrived to the Grimmery Manor, they met with Ritus's family, her father, mother, even her nephew, the son of Sir Zex and Graphia, Malekith. After the banquet of dinner, the small talk, and the banter, as everyone had gone to rest for the evening, Issei found himself staring at the ceiling. He had a lot to contemplate, with everything that had happened recently. He was so deep in thought that even the trusted scarab was finding himself a little bit perturbed. I have to say, it's not like you to ponder on things of such serious matter, Kaja, the scarab of Issei, would say. Usually, you're only thinking about what girl's breast you would like to fondle. I'm so sorry that my mind doesn't give you tantalating thoughts for conversation, Issei would say. But there is something I want to ask you. Kaja, out of all the people who have had you, everyone that bore the power of the scarab, where do I stack up? Where do you stack up? Are you sure you want to answer to that question, Issei? Just be truthful with me. In truth, you don't even come close. I could think of some of the worst who have inherited me, and I promise they were 10 times that of a wielder than you could ever possibly imagine. I'm that bad, huh? Bad. Bad would be an understatement. Bad, well, that would just be an insult to the word bad itself. You want my honest truth about you, Issei? Here it is. I think that you're a young man of many talents. I think that deep down, you have a kind and caring soul. You're not nearly as one-sided as the world would lead you to believe. But make no mistake about it. There's levels to this, and there are certain levels where you simply don't stack up. And I say that because if you want my honest opinion, the honest truth of the matter, I question if my goddess made a mistake choosing you. Perhaps she sees something in you that even I cannot. But I simply can't fathom that someone like you could be in possession of my power, what I'm capable of. You can't even achieve balance breaker on your own. You needed help, artificial tools created by that fallen angel, just to be able to manifest your balance breaker. And even then, you could barely contain it. You could barely maintain your form against volley. Hell, I find a hard time believing that boy from the future. Because, in truth, there's no way in hell that where you are right now, you could have been capable of killing both the red dragon and the white dragon. It just doesn't even seem feasible to me. I'm really that bad, huh? You wanted the truth. There you have it. But there's also something else that bothers me about you. Your obsession with Raven. Obsession? The way you fret over that girl. Every moment, the second someone brings up anything against her, you're already at her beck and call like a ravenous dog ready to attack. Why is that? Because she's a friend. I mean, she needs help. Someone has to do something. I mean, it's not right. Every time her name gets brought up, it's always about Trigon this and Trigon that. They look at her like she is Trigon. No one's saying, they don't have to say it. It's clear as day. It pisses me off. The way that people look at her like she's not even human. Like they don't even seem to care. The way that they act around her. Like she had a choice. Like she has to decide who her parents were. She was never given a choice. Her whole life, it's always been dictated by others. When I got chosen to inherit you, I didn't choose that for myself. And if you want my honest truth, sometimes I hate it. I hate hearing your condescending voice in my head. I hate hearing every 5 minutes about how I'm not good enough. If you want better, go get it. I wouldn't blame you. But unfortunately, I would die in the process. So call me selfish for wanting to live through a situation that I didn't cause. And I'm so sorry that it's an inconvenience for you. But hey, I'm so much of a screw up, right? You'll probably find someone better than me. I probably won't even live long enough. Oh no. Then some guy from the future comes around and tells us that the world's gonna go straight to hell and I'm gonna be the guy that makes it happen. So what choice do I really have? What say do I have in the matter? It's like everywhere we go, people are always telling us what we are, what we aren't, and what we're gonna be. Like, damn, does free will even exist anymore at that point? I mean, why should I even bother? Should I even try to get stronger? Apparently, I'm going to be the world's greatest dictator in the future. So why does it matter? I hate it. I hate everything about it. I hate this entire situation. And yet it seems like there's nothing I can do. I want to get stronger so that I can fight that fate. I'm not going to become evil. And I'm not going to let Raven die. And I'm not going to let my friends die. You talk about a lot of things you're not going to let happen, the scarab would say. But what if it does? Have you ever considered that the path of darkness that you could walk down could possibly come from you trying to avert it? There is a saying, you will often meet your destiny on the very road that you took to avoid it. What if, in trying to avert your future, that is the path you take to making that future a reality? Then what should I do? If I don't put up a fight, then haven't I already surrendered myself to the future? Not necessarily. It has to come from a state of mind, the conditions of your heart. If you truly believe that such events will not come to pass, then you must hold on to that belief. You must know that deep down you cannot fall. It sounds a lot easier said than done. It is. And it's not for the faint of heart. But I can tell you one thing. I at the very least have faith that if anyone can overcome such a destiny, you at least have the spirit to do that. The next day, training would begin. For the next 3 weeks, everyone would be looking to improve in their skills. For Rias, she would take up studying, trying to understand all of the members of her parish, all the people that fought under her, understanding their powers and their abilities. For Akano, much to her dismay, she would be training with her father, Barkiel, a general of the fallen angels, at the request of Azazel. For Kiba and Zenobia, they would train in enhancing and mastering their skills with their sacred blades. For Kiba, his balance breaker, the Holy Devil Sword. And for Zenobia, the blade that could cut through anything, Durandal. For Gasper, he would have to learn how to walk in public and overcome his fear and shyness in order to use his true ability, his balance breaker, Hidden Valor View. For Asya, she trained in learning how to master her abilities with her sacred gear, that being Twilight Healing. For Koneko, she would have to train to master her strength, to overcome her inner demons and use her true power. As for Raven, she would be training under Zatanna. Of course, Zatanna was simply a guest at the moment, but her skills in the mystic arts were nothing to sneeze at. She was the niece of John Constantine, after all, another practitioner of the mystic arts. If anyone was capable of training her, she'd definitely be the right choice. And as for Issei, his training would come from the most unlikeliest of places, that being their guest from the future, the man known as Booster Gold. Of course, his real name was Michael John Carter, or MJ Carter for short. He had taken some time to speak with Azazel and Sir Zex about everything he had gone through. Surprisingly enough, despite the tragedy of the future that he came from, he didn't hold a grudge towards Issei. At least, not the current Issei, anyway. But they didn't want to delve too much on the future, not knowing what type of ripple effects it would have. For now, Issei would find himself in the presence of Booster Gold, as the two of them would learn from each other, mastering techniques together. "I appreciate you training me," Issei would say. "I know it can't be easy given everything you've had to deal with, and it's honestly not that complicated. I know that I'm in the past, which means that nothing I've experienced in the future has happened yet. The you in the future and the you now are two totally different people. It's night and day. Honestly, it's kind of crazy. Am I really that big of a jerk in the future?" Jerk would be an understatement. Describing what you are in the future? Well, let's just say that you're not the fondest person to make friends with. But you are loyal. Loyal to a fault. What exactly... Why did I... No. You don't want to know that. Telling you in more detail will only lead to worser consequences. Hell, what I've already told you might be too much. You have to have faith, Issei. So, what exactly can you do? Well, as I've already told you, long into the future, the veil between the mystic and the ordinary basically gets lifted. The world knows about angels, devils, fallen angels, fairies, elves, everything in between. And for a time, there was stability among all of it. Hell, even some unions, you might say. Unions? What kind of unions? Well, let's just say that my father was a good-looking human who met a nice gal from heaven. They shacked up and they had me. Hold on. You're saying that your father got with an angel? Well, that's one way of putting it. I'd like to think that the relationship was a lot more than that, but yes, my father hooked up with an angel and had me. So I'm a hybrid. I'm half human, half angel. That's where my enhanced strength, speed, all that good stuff, that's where it comes from. But it's not the only thing I'm capable of. Techno-magic became a way of the future, a blending between science and the mystic arts. That's what my suit mostly has, a combination of technology and enhancements in spells and magic, things of that nature. That's how I was able to get as strong as I was. I've even been trying to build my own balance breaker. Building a balance breaker? How is something like that even possible? Well, like Azazel, a lot of things in the future became artificial, even sacred gears. Of course, you still have the originals, the 13 Longinus, but you had a lot more artificially created sacred gears as well. This one is my pride and joy. Booster held up his hand, showing a golden ring. With it, I'm able to modify for myself a special suit, if you will, that contains all powers and abilities. It's kind of a jack-of-all-trades sort of thing. I'm still trying to evolve it. And for you, you have one of the originals, the Scarab of Capri, the Beetle goddess of Egypt. To see that fell to you, it's truly remarkable. But I can tell that you're not using it to its fullest capabilities. And what exactly are those capabilities? Issei would ask. Well, think of it like this. The boosted gear, the power to double, to multiply your strength, divine dividing, the power to cut it in half, absorb and take it away. You're in the center. You are the focal point between those two powers. If one is the power to double, one is the power to divide, you are absolute zero. What does that even mean? Issei would ask. Okay, so let's try to go over the basics once more. Your power is the power to assimilate. Using the scarab, you can scan through any sort of technology, any power, any ability, and you can virtually make it your own style. Your power is more than just assimilation. It's adaptation, evolution. That is the power of the scarab. The scarab is meant to grow. You adapt, you evolve, you assimilate. You take in knowledge, everything into yourself to become a better you, a stronger you. That's why the scarab has always existed. It was never the strongest sacred gear to begin with, but through its contact with other sacred gears, with other powerful beings, it was able to grow. That power is endless, because just like how knowledge is always never ending, so too is the ability to grow and change. That is your greatest strength. No matter how strong someone is, you can learn to be stronger. No matter how much you're cut down or divided, you can always get back up. That is your power. When you think of it from that sense, you become limitless. Your power is only limited by your imagination. It sounds a lot like a muscle. Both Issei and Booster Gold would turn to hear yet another voice amongst them. They looked to see another young man sitting on the rocks, dressed in a tracksuit, looking like he was getting ready to go for a run. Hope you don't mind if I cut in. I was just so captivated by your conversation. Who are you? Issei would ask. That's Cyra-Org, Booster would say. Cyra-Org Bale. Huh. So, my name is known, even in the future. It's truly an honor. You know this guy? Issei would ask. And you don't? That's Cyra-Org Bale of the Bale family, one of the noble royal devil families. Of course I know about him. Everyone does. So he's even that famous, even in the future? Of course. His power is far more than what anyone could have fathomed, and he wasn't even born with the power of domination. It's not something that I like to brag about. I mean, at least for me in this current time, it's not something that's looked upon favorably. But if I was able to make that lasting of an impact even in the future, then it's nice to know that I kept the family name intact. Why are you here? Issei would ask. Well, I was told to help whip you guys into shape. You know, break you down, build you back up. That sounds very intense, Issei would say. Oh, I hope it is. 'Cause I may potentially have to face you someday, Issei. I want to make sure I put my best foot forward. So, I'm gonna have to break you now. Piece by piece, bit by bit. But don't worry, when it's all said and done, you're gonna be a whole lot stronger. As Cyborg would crack his knuckles, a gulp would emerge from both Issei and Booster. Because right now, they were both in the same boat. And now, it was time to assimilate, adapt, and evolve. Or die. After their 3 weeks of training, everyone would reconvene together once again. Issei and Booster were the last two to show up, everyone watching on as both Booster and Issei carried each other, arm in arm, dragging each other along with Cyborg walking behind them. Cyborg, it's good to see you, Rias would say. It's been a long time, cousin. Cousin? They both said in unison. So, how were they? How was my boy Issei? Well, I have to say, your boy certainly knows how to take a punch. A few, in fact. Honestly, I was thinking that I would have gotten a good chance at breaking them in after the second week, but they were able to survive and hold on. Wow, how far did you go? Don't worry, I still have to keep some secrets, but if you really want to know, I'd say they got about a good 20% out of me. They were able to survive 20%? Geesh, you really did put them through the ringer. Were they able to achieve Balance Breaker? Well, the gold guy over there has his own thing going on, but I like to think that I was able to toughen him up a bit. As for Issei, no go. But I can promise you, he has gotten a whole lot stronger. Well, I guess it can't be helped. Still, I thank you for the assistance. It means a lot. No problem, anytime. I'm hoping that we can have a good sporting match when the rating games come along. Who knows? Maybe our two houses will go against each other. If so, I look forward to it. Indeed. However, for some, training went a little better than others. For Koneko, she overdid it, not sticking to the training regimen that Azazel had given her, and now she was bedridden. Raven had gone to check in on Koneko to see how she was doing. Her training, for the most part, focused more so on control, controlling her emotions, controlling her inner self, and gaining a mastery over her power. With Zatanna's help, she had actually come a pretty long way, and Zatanna was pleased to say that Raven was making good progress. She was moving in the right direction, and for everyone, that was all they could ask for. Of course, Issei wanted to check in on Koneko as well, but in doing so, he got a little bit more of a surprise than he would have originally expected, as when he was checking in on her, Rias was doing the same, and he saw her little secret. Well, two little secrets, in the form of fluffy cat ears at the top of her head. That's right. Konoko's secret, her power of being a nekomata, or a cat-like being. Rias would explain Konoko's origins to Issei, of how she and her sister had once been strays taken in by a loving master, only for Konoko's older sister to betray the master and kill them, leaving Konoko behind to face the scorn of the people. It was at Sir Zex's request that Konoko be taken in and later be given to Rias to look after and to fill her heart with love. For Konoko, she had been grateful to Rias and to everyone, even for Issei, even if he was a huge pervert at times. It felt like everyone was always doing their best for her, and yet she could never do the same for them. But Rias would assure Konoko that she would grow at her own pace, and her powers would come through in time. She just had to accept them for who she was, and learning to accept herself was the first step. The next day, Issei and friends would prepare for the banquet that was going to be held in the underworld, and where the peace treaty was set to be signed. The coalition between different groups and provinces, all of whom were looking to join together and end the centuries of fighting and infighting that occurred between them. Among them would be the members of the Norse mythology. Odin himself would be in attendance, along with Devil King representatives such as Sir Zex and Seraphal Leviathan, Azazel, of course, and Constantine, who would be helping to oversee the proceedings. Issei's spine, of course, would shudder at the thought, because on tonight of all nights, Zatanna just had to be dressed in the most sexiest of red dresses that Issei had ever seen. And she was wearing a low cut too, spaghetti straps, no bra either. In fact, if he looked hard enough, maybe he could... Now, boyo. She's a fine, beautiful rose, isn't she? Issei gasped as he felt a hand on his shoulder. He could smell the breath of bourbon and cigarettes. It was Constantine, all right. Yes, sir. She's quite lovely. And such a lovely girl. She needs to be, what's the word? Respected, sir. Respected. Yeah, respected. Respect goes a long way, Issei. Respect does a lot of things. Yes, sir. I know. The spiders, the sharks, the wendigos. It's a Jabberwocky. But don't worry. I'm not going to bother you. I know that you're a good egg, and you got a good head on your shoulders. I know that you wouldn't do anything luxurious with my niece now, would you? No, sir. No, sir. I promise I won't. That a boy. Now, you kids do a good job with your security, and please, enjoy yourselves. Not too much. Oh, you won't do it, you rascal. You know I'll kill you. If there was one person that could put the fear of God into anyone, it was Constantine. And for Issei, he felt that firsthand. But there was another matter to attend to. As Issei had noticed, Konoko had a disturbed look on her face, and suddenly she found herself bolting for the exit. Issei, not sure what was going on, would chase behind her, but he wouldn't be alone, as both Rias and Raven would be following close behind. Rias? Raven? Yeah, we saw you bolting after Konoko, Raven would say. I could feel that there was something off with her, Raven said. Her spirit, it felt alarmed. Whatever the matter is, it's best if we all go after her together. What about everyone else? Issei would ask. They'll have to stay back for the banquet, but I don't think anything too troubling is going to happen. Let's just find Konoko and get back home, okay? And with that, Issei and the others would chase after Koniko into the night as the peace treaty banquet was underway. At the reception, many of the guests of honor were now starting to file in. Among them, Odin, the leader of the Norse gods, along with his attendant, the Valkyrie Rosvisa, as well as Michael, the leader of heaven, along with his attendants, Irina and Shaira. As everyone would gather and commingle amongst themselves, Constantine would oversee the proceedings. After all, being the representative and defender of Earth and all of that, whether he liked it or not, it was his job to take the lead at such functions. And, of course, the nice fancy bubbly and other beverages also played a role. But for now, it was about getting this peace treaty underway. And so he would take center stage, drink in hand, as he called to everyone's attention. All right. Let's get this underway now. Hey, barkeep, can you? Yeah, that's the stuff. Okay, so our guest of honor has finally arrived. Hold on 1 second. Yeah, that hit the spot. Odin, everybody. Along with Michael, Sirzex, Serafol, Azazel, my good man. It's good to see so many familiar faces here today. But anywho, we've got a peace treaty to sign, because for a long time now, you all have had a tendency of, well, not getting along very much, and with all due respect, I don't like being called unless I absolutely have to be. So, with this peace treaty, I say free cheers to a good time for a long time, and instead of our fights and wars being fought on the battlefield, I say that there is no problem that a pint of ale and mead cannot solve. Now, can I get an amen to that now? The silence was loud, but his message came across clear enough. Odin was entertained at least. Rosvisa, not so much. Are you serious? Lord Odin, is he really the person that has to be in charge of the proceedings here? With all due respect, he's just a drunk. Hey, now, I am not just a drunk. Well, I'll have you know. Wait a minute. I recognize that silver hair anywhere. Rosvisa. That's it. Rosvisa. How you been? Ooh. I take it you know this man? Odin would say. No, sir. I'm afraid he has me mistaken with Rose Honey. You remember me? I know you. We had that thing in 85. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, sir. I really don't know what he's talking about. I really think he has me. You remember it. 85, Santa Monica. You know, at that hotel. I remember you. You did that split. You did that thing with your. We used to play hide the sword and. Shut up! You promised you would never tell anyone about this. What the hell? Can't you get to be sober for once and just? Rosvisa. Well, Constantine, Azazel would say, I see you're still getting around as good as you always have. Trust me, she is amazing. I mean, if you've ever seen her in just her armor, then let me just, Odin would say. Now that I think about it, I remember not being able to get in contact with you for 4 days. So, I see you were relieving some tension in the human world, I take it? Odin would ask. I did no such thing, Rosweiser would say. Seriously, I promise you, there is no way that I would ever do anything with this deplorable man. This is just a part of his drunken fantasies. I promise you, it never... Ooh! Rosweiser felt something tap her on the rear end. And, well, this was the point where all hell was set to break loose. Sir Zek simply shaking his head. This was supposed to be the signing of a peace treaty, not some episode of Jerry Springer. Well, thankfully enough, the festivities would be interrupted once again, except not through the drunken tirades of Earth's greatest warrior, if you want to call him that, or through the mix-ups of one-night stands that happened over 30 years ago, but rather through the Norse god of trickery. Loki had decided to make his presence known, and, well, he was looking to bring a little chaos with him. Meanwhile, inside of the forest, Koneko was confronted with yet another demon of her past. A familiar one. A rather beautiful one. One dressed in a black kimono with, Well, Issei was doing everything in his power to keep little Issei in check, because big sis Kuroka had come to town, and she'd come to take her sweet baby sister back home. But she wasn't the only one. Byakuo, descendant of the Sun Wukong, as well as another. A man dressed in an all-black suit, tie and shirt, hair short and cut, but yet as white as snow. Well, it seems we're both going to get what we want, Kuroka, Damien would say. Rachel, I know you're out there. Your concealing magic's good, but you can't hide from me. You or your little friends. Their direction would be given as Rias, Issei, and Raven stood together. How do you know my name? Raven would ask. I know a lot about you. I know about your mother. I know a lot about your father. And I know that you need help. Help that they can't give you. And what exactly is that supposed to mean? Rias would ask. Come now, Miss Grimmery. Surely you know better than anyone that her condition isn't something that your family can help with. It's quite the opposite, in fact. You'll only want to use it to your advantage, and even if you have good intentions, I can't say the same for your brother, the king, now can I? I'd care for you to watch how you speak of my brother. Disrespect to him is disrespect to the Grimmery name, and that will not be tolerated. I promise, I mean no disrespect. But this is far beyond anything you can handle. And I believe it would be in your best interest if you were to let them go. They were never yours to begin with. You talk about them like they're property, Issei would say. Koneko and Raven don't have to go anywhere with you. Not if they don't want to. And to be entirely honest, I'm getting sick of looking at you already. So why don't you do us all a favor and get lost? Ah, yes. The inheritor of the scarab. Capri's chosen champion, Issei Hyodo. I've heard a lot about you as well. Not a lot of savory things, but at the very least, I hear that you're quite charming and entertaining. Especially with the way you fixate over breasts. I mean, I appreciate a good pair, from women my own age, of course. But, I think you need to understand who you're talking to, boy. You see, I'm not like Volley. I'm not like Cocobile. I'm not like anyone you've ever come across. I don't play around with children. This is grown man business. So when you step to me, you're stepping to a grown man. That means I'm going to treat you like a grown man. And if necessary, I will whoop your ass like a grown man. And trust me, you don't want a grown man ass whooping, because a grown man ass whooping will have you 6 feet in the grave. So I'm only going to say this once. Turn around and walk away. Issei's arm would summon a technoblade as he pointed directly at Damien. Not gonna happen. Okay then. Don't blame me for what happens next. Raven, I want you to watch closely, because you're about to learn one of the key lessons of life. Actions have consequences. And your friend here is about to get a big dose of consequences. This concludes High School DxD Fallen Hero. What if Issei was the Blue Beetle? Season 3, Part 2. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that's to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we continue with High School DxD Fallen Hero. What if Issei was the Blue Beetle? Season 3, Part 3. But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.